Welcome to The Explainer. We're skipping the usual intro today and diving straight into the absolute life or death reality of December 17th, 1944. Just picture it. The ground is literally shaking under your feet, it's 11:30 in the morning, and the temperature is absolutely freezing.
72-1. Those were the exact odds facing a 5'5" American sergeant huddled alone in a Belgian foxhole. And no, that number is not a typo. He was staring down 72 enemy tanks. Let's set the scene. It's Krinkelt, Belgium. An entire German armor column is smashing through the frozen tree line just 400 yards away. They are actively threatening to completely overrun the left flank of Company K. The American forces have already taken massive casualties, and the center line? It's starting to collapse. Just think about the sheer scale of this mismatch. On one side, you have the largest German offensive in the West since 1940, the 12th SS Panzer Division, backed up by 2 full battalions of infantry. And on the other side, Sergeant Jose Mendoza Lopez, one man. His assistant gunner was dead, his ammunition bearer was dead, the rest of his squad was actively retreating. He was entirely, completely alone. Section 1. The Making of a Fighter. To understand how he survived, we have to look at a life defined by pure grit. Born in Mexico in 1910, Lopez was orphaned by the time he was 8. He crossed into Texas alone, picked cotton, and broke concrete. Then, by 1927, this 130-pound teenager starts a professional boxing career. He fought 55 matches and lost only 2. Get this, he was literally never knocked down. He eventually joins the Merchant Marine and then the U.S. Army. Fast forward to D-Day +1, he gets hit by shrapnel on Omaha Beach, but flat out refuses medical evacuation. This is a guy who had fought his whole life to belong somewhere, and there was absolutely no way he was leaving his unit.
Section 2. Street Math and Survival.
Okay, consider the sheer physical burden of his weapon. The Browning M1919A4 is an absolute beast. It weighs 41 pounds. The training manual assumes you've got an assistant gunner feeding the belts and an ammo bearer bringing up the boxes. But as we established, Lopez was alone, so he had to carry, load, and fire this massive piece of machinery entirely by himself.
So how in the world did he survive? Well, he brilliantly applied his lightweight boxing tactics to heavy infantry combat. Step 1, hit first. He opened fire at 270 yards just to shock the Panzer Grenadiers. Step 2, fire in combinations. He used short, unpredictable bursts. Think of it like a jab across a hook. And step 3, keep moving. The second a foxhole was compromised, he'd grab that 41-pound gun and crawl to a brand new position so the enemy couldn't pin him down.
But here is where the math really catches up to him. He started this engagement with exactly 1,000 rounds. That's just 4 belts of ammunition. Meanwhile, an advancing column of Tiger tanks, each packing devastating 88mm guns, was just 300 yards away and closing in fast. Then the inevitable happens. A German gunner manages to triangulate his muzzle flash. The Tiger tank fires. The high explosive blast throws Lopez 15 feet backward, right out of his foxhole. He hits the frozen ground hard. His vision is totally blurred, he's tasting blood, and his nervous system is just completely scrambled. But incredibly, that instinct of a boxer who had never been knocked down in 55 fights kicks right back in. He crawls straight back to his dirt-covered gun, clears the chamber, and just resumes firing. He quickly checks his remaining belts. He's down to just 600 rounds against a virtually unlimited, heavily armed enemy force. So the absolutely crucial point here is how he managed that dwindling supply. Instead of panicking, he systematically dissects their assaults. He waits for flanking squads to fully expose themselves before firing, making every single bullet count. He specifically targets commanding officers to destroy the enemy's coordination. And by constantly shifting his position, he's actually selling this illusion to the Germans that they're facing a much larger force. He's punishing their probes to buy precious seconds. And those seconds, they meant yards of distance for the 200 retreating men of Company K right behind him. The clock is ticking down relentlessly as his ammo drops to just 150 rounds. He's facing a coordinated 3-pronged tank and infantry assault, and he simply doesn't have the bullets to stop it. But just as the street math is about to fail him, Private Morrison and 2 American riflemen suddenly emerge from the tree line to reinforce his flank, giving him some desperately needed overlapping fire. Section 3. The Fighting Withdrawal. After repelling yet another massive wave of infantry pushing through the barrage, the inevitable finally happens. The belt runs dry. His weapon clicks empty.
This is where his absolute, unwavering discipline really shines. The military manual tells you to never leave your weapon behind, even when it's totally empty and weighing you down. So Lopez slings that empty 41-pound Browning right across his back. He and his small team begin a brutal, house-to-house, bound-and-cover retreat through the burning ruins of Krinkelt. He's actually scavenging for abandoned ammo in the rubble, just trying to get his gun back into the fight. When he finally makes it to friendly lines at Würzfeld, his hands are literally shaking and bleeding from shrapnel. He just collapses into a foxhole. He had endured over 5 hours and 15 minutes of continuous, unimaginable combat. It was, without a doubt, the longest fight of his life.
Section 4. The true cost of heroism. Now let's talk about the sheer impact of this single soldier. We're talking over 100 confirmed enemy casualties and a massive 6.5-hour delay imposed on the German assault. Because of Lopez, 200 American men were saved, allowing Company K to successfully disengage. By holding that northern shoulder, he gave the 2nd Infantry Division the critical time they needed to dig into Elsenborn Ridge. He effectively stopped the 6th SS Panzer Army and Hitler's entire northern offensive cold. His official citation perfectly captures the sheer magnitude of what he did. That seemingly suicidal mission led directly to Major General James Van Fleet pinning the Medal of Honor, the nation's highest military decoration, right on Sergeant Lopez's chest in Nuremberg in June of 1945.
Yet, there's a really stark and sobering duality to his return home. On one hand, he's this universally decorated hero, holding the Medal of Honor and even Mexico's highest military honor. On the other hand, the post-war reality was incredibly harsh. The exact same man who saved hundreds of American lives returned to Texas only to face severe discrimination. He was a grade school dropout who spoke with an accent, and he struggled immensely just to find basic employment to feed his family. It's a pretty heartbreaking reality. The orphaned immigrant who fought so incredibly hard to belong, the guy who single-handedly held a flank against tanks, was actually forced by financial struggles to re-enlist in 1949. He went on to serve in both Korea and Vietnam, ultimately dedicating 31 years of his life to a country that, honestly, often overlooked him when he returned to civilian life. As we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with a profound question to ponder. How does the savior of 200 men, a soldier whose solitary street math halted an entire panzer division, how does he just disappear from our mainstream history books? It really forces us to look deeply at how we define memory, legacy, and the true, often unrecognized cost of heroism. Think about that for a bit, and keep seeking out the history that actually matters.